When we look at creatures in the animal kingdom, we often have the following thought. If they have similar traits, they must be related somehow. Zebras, horses, and camels must have some common ancestor. Same goes for dogs and jackals. Somewhere back in their lineage, they must have some common great-great-great-grand wolf, right? Well, the way evolution works in nature is way more complex. Take, for instance, convergent evolution, which is when different creatures evolve independently from each other but end up having similar traits. We only need to look at sharks and dolphins to see how this works. At first glance, they look very similar, aquatic creatures with some species having roughly the same size. But turns out they're mostly unrelated. Sharks are fish. They reproduce by laying eggs and evolved to have the ability to sniff out blood in the water to feed themselves. Dolphins, on the other hand, are mammals. They're friendly and have a way more interesting social life. Take bottlenose dolphins, which have their own special whistles that they use similar to how humans use their names. Not only do they develop this type of whistle to introduce themselves to other dolphins, but they can also learn such names so they can better communicate with each other. Sure, sharks and dolphins did have a common ancestor, but this one lived in the sea almost 300 million years ago. It's safe to say, dolphins and sharks aren't even cousins these days. Another more shocking example of convergent evolution is that of whales and bats. Most of the creatures we can name on the top of our heads use light and sight to understand the world around them. But there is a specific set of creatures that relies on sound to paint them a picture of their environment. What they do is they emit a sound which bounces back to them depending on the object it hits. This ability is called echolocation. Animals that have this feature emit sounds at frequencies above human hearing, called ultrasound. Those sound waves bounce off objects while they move around, allowing them to figure out where they are in a certain space. Echolocation is mostly used by toothed whales and by some species of bats. What's similar in both of these animals is that they need to hunt in the darkness. Despite this, they echolocate in very different ways. Bats, for instance, use their throats to generate ultrasound from their mouth or nose. Then, they proceed to listen for changes in the echoes. Their echolocation is so finely tuned that they can distinguish targets less than 0.01 inches apart, even if their target is moving. Whales, on the other hand, echolocate by pushing air through their nasal cavity. This movement creates vibrations in a special fatty organ called the melon. This organ focuses and modulates the sound, which then passes into the water around the whale. Whales then pick up the reflections of these sounds through their lower jaw and around the ears. Another striking example of evolutionary convergence is that of ichthyosaurus and dolphins. Visually, the Mesozoic fish lizards named Ichthyosaurus seem very similar to modern dolphins. But the friendly mammals are much more related to giraffes and camels than the ancient creatures. Despite being 200 million years apart, they do share some common traits which mislead people into thinking they belong to the same species. But that's mostly because they lived in the same environment. They both evolved to feature dorsal fins, which keep them balanced while swimming. Now, let's look at Phytosaurus and crocodiles. The first ones were reptiles that roamed the Earth back in the Triassic period. They weren't dinosaurs, but they lived at the same time as the first dinosaurs did. Even though they look very similar, the first crocodiles popped up more than 70 million years later in the Cretaceous period. These two even fooled paleontologists at first. They initially assumed that phytosaurs were the ancestors of crocodiles. Placodonts and turtles look similar too. Placodonts, however, appeared about the same time as the dinosaurs did, somewhere around 235 million years ago. Like modern turtles, they lived in marine environments, but they were surrounded by predators. So, they evolved to have really strong shells to protect themselves. Turtles, however, made it to the scene around 100 million years later. Even modern cats have ancient lookalikes. They were called the Sparacidons, but they were carnivores and marsupials. They used to live in the South American area and resembled the saber-toothed tiger, which is now extinct. Speaking of saber-toothed tigers, how about one that's also related to the kangaroo? Yeah, this creature used to freely roam the earth around 300 million years ago. The Thylacosmilus may have looked like a feline, but it was a marsupial, meaning it had a pouch of skin in which it carried its pups for a certain period after their birth, like kangaroos and opossums do today. It's difficult to estimate what they looked like since a full skeleton has never been found, but we do know they weighed between 180 to 260 pounds. When we picture a present-day elephant, we always imagine them with their tusks protruding upwards. Well, that's not how their ancestors did it. About 20 million years ago, there lived a prehistoric elephant-like creature named Deinotherium. It did, however, have both tusks curving down from their jaw. As with many other prehistoric creatures, we don't know why they had this feature the other way around. But one theory suggests they used them as anchors. By securing themselves to riverbanks, they were able to safely sleep without drifting off. The last thylacine passed away in the early 20th century. Their extinction was one of the most tragic natural events in modern times. For the last 2,000 years, they have been known to live only on the island of Tasmania. Despite the name, they looked more like foxes than felines. However, thylacines were marsupials rather than placental mammals like foxes. The two-leg wallaby was one of the most beautiful and majestic creatures ever to have lived. It used to be found in Australia and New Zealand. They were very similar to the kangaroos and featured fine fur with shifting bands of darker and lighter gray across their backs. Surprisingly, they were dubbed monkey face, but they had no connection whatsoever to modern monkeys, apart from both being mammals. What made them so special was the way they moved around. Their standard movement consisted of 2 short hops, followed by a long one. After that, the wallaby would simply stare into the sky. Don't be fooled though, the two-legged wallaby was extremely rapid. Females were generally taller than males, and they appear to have been quite sociable animals, at times being particularly fond of a certain location. They were also nocturnal. Hyracoodonts and horses share a lot of similar features, but hyracoodonts used to exist in the Eocene and Oligocene periods, and they went extinct around 23 million years ago. In their whole group, they featured very diverse species and came in many different sizes, from the small pony-like to the colossal Paraceratherium, which is one of the largest land-living mammals ever to exist. Modern horses, however, appeared around 2 million years ago. Let's do a little experiment together. Start by stretching your arms out. If you were to draw a line from your fingertips to your shoulder, it would measure around 28 inches. Now, try to picture an insect with a wingspan this big. Hold on a minute, you won't need a large can of bug spray, don't worry. They're extinct. But the gigantic Meganeuropsis did live around 250 to 300 million years ago. However, they most likely resembled the present-day dragonflies, despite not being technically related. Scientists figured out that they were not true dragonflies because of differences in the shape of their wing veins. Scientists still don't know why these bugs turned out so big. Some believe insects are limited in size because of the small quantity of oxygen they're able to take in. In the times when these insects roamed the Earth, the levels of oxygen in our atmosphere were much higher, so that might be one explanation. Other specialists think that they got so big because there wasn't any other predator large enough to pick them up from the ground.
And they're off. In the ultimate test of speed versus endurance, the cheetah immediately takes the lead. Reaching highway speeds in only 3 seconds, it's the fastest animal on this planet. But just after 20 seconds, covering a distance of 7 football fields in that time, the cheetah can't keep going. And the pronghorn takes the lead. The speediest animals in North America, they leave their natural enemies, coyotes and bobcats, in the dust. Now, that's what I call fast food. But it's slowing down as well. At a lower speed, they can keep it up for miles. Close behind, look out! It's a blue wildebeest. Max speed aside, these animals travel over vast distances, trekking more than 1,000 miles during their yearly migrations. It would take you 20 hours to drive that. Up next, the king of the jungle himself. Like the cheetah, lions are built for short bursts of speed. They hunt by sprinting to their prey and pouncing on it with leaps of up to 36 feet, almost as long as a semi. More than a few seconds though, and their muscles tire out. Down they go, one after the other. Cats, rabbits, bears, oh my. Nearly all the sprinters are tuckering out in under a minute. Now we find out who can endure the longest. The fastest two-legged animal and the largest bird on the planet can compete well enough with the sprinters. The tendons in an ostrich's legs are like springs, propelling the animal forward without expending too much energy. But after 45 minutes with its speed continuously falling, the ostrich is finally calling it quits. And there goes the pronghorn along with it. Fun fact, it gets its name from that unique split on each horn, like prongs in a fork. It's the only animal that sheds its horns each year. Usually only antlers fall off yearly. At the 1 hour mark, the camel taps out. It can easily transport large loads over 25 miles a day, but not while running. For windy days in the sand, camels have 3 eyelids protected by 2 rows of long, thick lashes. They can also close their nostrils completely. Boy, that would be handy. The sled dogs are still going strong. They have plenty of energy to keep up the stamina. Sled dogs eat 5 times more calories than your typical domestic pooch, taking in up to 10,000 a day. But at 1 hour and 20 minutes, the fluffy canines are done. The zebras are still hanging in there. As long as they can avoid a lion's quick pounce, they can easily outrun their predators thanks to their stamina. In fact, the lion doesn't get the zebra about 80% of the time. Their equine cousins keep galloping at a steady 10 miles per hour, even though horses can do more than 5 times that. A racehorse is built and bred to endure, as its spleen pumps out more red blood cells to keep those muscles oxygenated. But at the 2.5 hour mark, the horse is out of the race. And with that, the human takes the lead. Blown in the dust at the start of the race, the fastest our species has ever done is 27.8 miles per hour. And that was for a fraction of a second by Olympic sprinter Usain Bolt, not your average Joe. Speed is for the animal kingdom. Humans were built for long distance running, and we top them all. The best we've got in that department is a man named Dean Karnazes, who jogged 350 miles across Northern California without stopping for 80 hours and 44 minutes. That's over 3 days of non-stop running. Really? He didn't even stop for... wow. Our species evolved for endurance running. We have a body covered, not in fur, but 2 to 5 million sweat glands. We're aerodynamic and can cool off more efficiently than animals that pant instead of sweat. Our large, strong glute muscles keep us upright. This minimizes our center of gravity and the surface area being hit by the sun. We save energy, maintain balance, and don't get too overheated, unlike the prey our early ancestors would hunt for. It took persistence, not speed. But any average Joe who's ever tried to run after the bus will know humans need to train to run super long distances, and the wear and tear on our muscles and joints is no joke. Regular marathon runners need weeks, even months, of prep before and rest after a competition. The racers have slowed down to a walking pace, and now the animal kingdom can finally impress with its endurance. The Arctic lemming spends most of its day trotting around looking for grub. The tiny 3-ounce creature travels 10 miles a day. That's like you walking the distance of 40 Grand Canyons in 24 hours. A polar bear usually covers 20 miles a day, but some have been tracked traveling 50 or even hundreds of miles. Polar bears are actually considered marine mammals since they spend their lives on the sea ice and depend on the ocean for food. Packs of wolves travel up to 30 miles a day in search of food. Loners looking for a new pack or a mate can travel much further, up to 500 miles. That'd be like going up and down Mount Everest 50 times. And why would you want to do that? During their yearly migrations, caribou can cover over 3,000 miles, more than the distance from San Francisco to New York. The eye color of Arctic caribou changes from gold to blue in the winter. It makes their vision more light sensitive during these months of little sunlight. But what's this? Up in the sky, it's the endurance flyers. Grab your binoculars and have a look at that ruby-throated hummingbird. Weighing not much more than a penny, some of them cross the Gulf of Mexico, a distance of 500 miles, in about 22 hours of nonstop flight. Not bad for the smallest bird on our planet. Whoa, watch out, little guy. It's a peregrine falcon zooming by at 125 miles per hour. These birds can travel up to 800 miles a day and reach speeds of close to 190 miles an hour when diving. It's the fastest endurance flight among birds and technically the fastest animal on Earth. Ooh, a looming shadow covers the peregrine falcon from above. Here comes the biggest flying bird in the world. With its mighty 11-foot wingspan, the wandering albatross can travel 10,000 miles, almost halfway around the world in a single journey. They spend most of their time in flight, coming to land only when it's time to breed. Here we have a globe-trotting dragonfly that recently dethroned the monarch butterfly for the #1 spot among massive insect migrations. Monarchs make an annual 3,000-mile trip from Canada to Mexico, but the globe skimmer dragonfly crosses oceans and flies up to 11,000 miles. If you're looking to set a world record for the longest walk in the world, you'd need to start on the most southern tip of Africa and trek to the furthest northeastern tip of Russia. It's 14,000 miles, more than half the circumference of the Earth. The Arctic Tern covers about 18,500 miles. That's 3/4 of the Earth's circumference in 3 week-long flights. If you tried to hike that, it would take you 4 years to complete such a trip. Still, nothing compared to the bird that can fly non-stop for 200 days in a row. Some swifts can be airborne for 10 months at a time, which means they cover the distance to the moon and back several times in their life. Like many migratory birds escaping winter, they eat and sleep while flying. Switching to X-ray mode and you'll see these birds switch off half their brain for rest, while the other half keeps the flight going. Now, don't be so impressed, humans can do that too. Well, sort of. It's why you sleep so lightly in unfamiliar places. Half your brain is on alert and not entirely sleeping. Humpback whales swim over 6,000 miles every year during the migration season. They hold the record for the longest migration among marine creatures. Fun fact, each humpback's whale tail is as unique to it as a fingerprint. There's even a picture catalog of all the known ones. Yet many sharks would sit back and laugh at all of them, if sharks could laugh. Species like great whites and makos, contemporary relatives of the megalodon, by the way, don't stop swimming their entire lives. If they stop, they won't be able to breathe. Continuous movement allows water to flow through their gills, and that's how they get oxygen. But most of their muscles don't need oxygen to function. That's their white muscle tissue. It's for long-distance endurance swimming. Red muscle tissue, which needs oxygen from the blood, is only used during short bursts of speed.
So, it's a hot summer day, you're outdoors enjoying the weather. You want to lie on the cool grass somewhere in the shade just to relax, but ew, looks like someone spat there, but it's actually a spittlebug's house. These guys sip a lot of watery sap from the plants, and when they process it, it forms a lot of bubbles, not less than 150 times their body mass daily. All these bubbles form a cocoon where young insects can grow safely. No bird or animal wants to eat this cocoon because it tastes bitter, as if you licked a Nintendo cartridge. Not so fast, cheetah. Apparently, Dracula ant is the world's fastest animal, and the vampires in the ant world. They'd definitely win any burger-eating contest since they're able to snap their jaws 5,000 times faster than your eye can blink. To understand how fast the Dracula ant is, you gotta make a video of his jaws chomping at 480,000 frames per second. At this speed, you'll see the ant slowly moving its mandibles. They don't run, but their mouths are rapid, and they move those jaws so fast they even bend while snapping together. Now people can do that too, snapping our fingers so that they bend. The darkest animal out there is the Yosemite chicken. Not only these guys have black feathers, eyes, and claws, they also have black bones. The color is bluish black, and it is deep. If you ever try those chicken wings, they'll look as if someone had marinated them in blackberry juice or squid ink. They say Marco Polo was the first to have discovered these odd or charming roosters. Back in 1298, the explorer wrote about a breed of chickens that were as black as cats and laid the best eggs. This freshwater fish has been around since the beginning of the 20th century and probably remembers good old times with black and white and even silent movies. One big-mouthed buffalo made it till 112 years old. Still, the world's oldest creatures live in the sea. There are deep-sea sponges that are 11,000 years old, and they're safe and sound. This fish has incredible gills, which lets it hold its breath for over 4 minutes. Meet the coffin fish, a weird-looking but tough animal. They're also famous as sea toads. They actually look much more like toads, not classic fish with fins and scales. They can also inflate because of the seawater they gulp, so they expand just like a balloon. In fact, this super ability lets this fish hold its breath for several minutes because they actually get the oxygen from the water they keep inside. But the absolute champion is the human. The world's champion can survive holding the breath for over 20 minutes. There are some animals that make their own clothes. Sponge crabs make a sort of hat from sponges to protect them from underwater bad guys. To figure out how the crabs decided on their outfit, researchers gave them some foam sponges that were different in sizes. The bigger the crab is, the bigger the sponge it chooses. They use various techniques to get this perfect shape, starting from cutting out a small hole for the head, and then they see if the size fits them. If they're good to go, they continue to cut and dig into that sponge until it becomes a perfect hat. Recently, researchers have spotted a moth that would drink birds' tears while they sleep. So far, there were only 3 registered cases of animals feeding on other animals' tears. These were some Amazon butterflies, solitary bees, and moths. Their regular diet mostly includes nectar, but it does lack essential salts that aren't that easy to find elsewhere. Not only do they drink birds' tears, they also drink turtles' tears, crocodiles' tears, and those of many mammals found in the Amazon jungle. Really? Crocodile tears? Some sea dwellers can emit red light. For example, the stoplight loosejaw fish uses it to catch dinner. Shrimps don't see the red light, so the loosejaw fish can spot any red shrimp emitting pulses of red light and catches it without scaring the dinner away. Mammals can glow too. A flying squirrel glows under UV light, emitting pink light. It happens because they're able to absorb light and emit it back in another wavelength. The platypus may not have the largest cheek pouches, but they're definitely the weirdest. They keep gravel inside those pouches to help mash the food they normally eat: worms, shellfish, snails. These guys are toothless, so gravel comes in handy when it comes to chewing the food. It works just like a blender. Ooh, makes you wonder what they use for the mouthwash, huh? Now, if humans had the same incredible cheeks just like chipmunks have, we'd be able to transport our groceries right in our mouths. In fact, chipmunks can transport something as large as themselves in their oversized mouth luggage sections. Hamsters have the same superpower too, and can even carry their young in the mouth in case of the need to run away. A baby carrot, which seems tiny for a human but significantly large for a hamster, can disappear without a trace in between those huge cheeks. The Mariana snailfish, which logically lives in the Mariana Trench, is relatively small. It's as large as 2 medium candy bars. Despite the size, they can easily withstand the pressure that equals 1,600 elephants standing on it. This fish has a unique body structure. For example, it has some gaps in the skull. If their skull was uniform and had no holes, it would never withstand the pressure in the depths of the Mariana Trench. Plus, their cartilage skeleton is soft and flexible. They also have no actual eyes, but they really don't need them since they live in complete darkness in the world's deepest trench. Hey, meet the Pinocchio frog. Not hard to guess, their nose can grow in size in the blink of an eye in various situations. Whenever they feel danger coming, it gets larger. When these frogs are calm and feel safe, it goes back to normal. It may also elongate when they want to attract mates, and probably when they croak a lot. Haha, just kidding. Do you enjoy it when it rains? You probably grab a cup of hot chocolate, cover yourself up with a blanket, and sit on the windowsill, looking at the drops dripping down the window. If you like it, you're definitely not a Myanmar snub-nosed monkey that's been recently discovered, guess where, in Myanmar. Their nostrils are so upturned and exposed to the outer world that they sneeze every time it rains. But if you were in a choir, you have something in common. Snub-nosed monkeys like singing together. Amazon pink river dolphins aren't born pink. Their young are always gray, but the older they get, the pinker they turn. It's like people having wrinkles when they age, and these guys simply get a different color. Hey, I'd like to get a little pink instead of those smile lines. You'd certainly love to be a termite because of their crazy sleep schedule. They actually never sleep, and the only thing they do is nibble on the wooden pegs they see around them. Well, if you're afraid of gaining weight because of a cellulose-rich diet, you could probably turn into a snail. They get a power nap for some hours and then can run without sleep for as long as 30 hours in a row. No fish can survive for any significant period of time without water, except this one, the African lungfish. When they feel something's wrong, they start secreting a mucus cocoon and go underground, give or take 9 inches under the soil. They have a built-in tube to breathe. Mountain stoneweeds, native to New Zealand, aren't afraid of drastic temperature changes. Their blood contains a special protein that doesn't let their blood crystallize in case of extreme temperatures. They tolerate any cold better than polar bears and even penguins, who live in the officially world's coldest place, Antarctica. Ring-tailed lemurs have one of the craziest ways of conflict resolution. They have stink fights. Taking into account the average number of lemurs in a group, about 20 or 30 animals, you'll see there's a lot of competition. Their scent glands are on their wrists and shoulders. Those on the wrists are harmless. The odor they produce is quite volatile. Those on the shoulders are nasty and produce brown, funky-smelling paste that would outlast any perfume. So back off.
Ah yes, driving through the countryside. Windows down, music, nice and loud. Just another road trip. You see a bunch of cows out the window. One of them really stands out. Literally. The other cows look like black and white hamsters. The Guinness World Record for tallest cow ever goes to this cow named Blossom. This big grass guzzler was 6'4". Somebody better buy that cow some basketball shoes. The average cow's only 4'5". Blossom must have felt like a giant. When you're that tall, you don't just hang around in a field eating grass. Blossom was the official greeter for a local resort. Big Jake. And believe me, big is an understatement. This guy got famous for being the world's tallest horse. Checking in at a whopping 6'11". We're gonna need a whole lot of basketball shoes. What a stud, which actually pretty much just means male horse, so... Now what about this little cutie? The world's shortest female horse. Her name is Thumbelina. What a perfect name. And she's only about 1'5". That didn't stop her from going viral though. Oh, and the shortest male horse is called Bumble. It means bubble in Polish. He's only 2 feet tall, but his heart is larger than life. So cute and shorter than a greyhound. Now, I'm a full-out dog person. Well, regular-sized dog person. Zeus, a Great Dane, was officially the world's tallest dog. Being 3'8" on all fours made you think you were looking at a small horse. Imagine that face waking you up in the morning. And what about taking him out for a walk? You'd have needed a pretty strong leash. According to his owners, he was a gentle giant and was usually laid back, luckily. And Zeus had a really important job. He was a certified therapy dog, spreading his love and joy to all in need. Imagine a dog like that. You wouldn't need to put out a water bowl every day. He could just drink straight out of the tap. Hugging would be on a whole different level, too. How much do you think that guy ate? Would he have even fit on your bed? So many questions. Now, what if you're a cat person? You'd better prepare yourself. Ha! Get it? Anyway, this cool cat over here has been called the world's longest domesticated cat. His name's Baravel, which means clown, and he comes from a small town in Italy. He's a gentle giant too, which is good because he's longer than a baseball bat. When they see a photo, people usually think he's been photoshopped. He enjoys basking in the sun by the window, staring out into the backyard. Hunting mice must feel like chasing ants to him. The previous title holders were called Ludo and Stewie, the same breed as Baravel. That's a lot of cat fur on my mom's new sofa. Sheesh. Hopping up next is a rabbit named Darius. His long ears and cute button nose aren't why he's special. A regular rabbit's about 14 inches, but Darius here, just over 50. That's basically a rabbit dog. Darius grew up on a farm in England, and living out in an open field gave him a super chill personality. Feeding him must be tough though. Darius must be a carrot-eating machine. I don't want to go down that rabbit hole. Enough of the cute stuff. Time for some more exotic animals. Maybe even mythical ones. Myths are just how people explain crazy things. Like the legend of the white-lipped man. That turned out to be just me eating cheesecake. Quick and shifty under the water, able to bring down an entire ship, the Kraken was famous for disappearing ships. That's what the legends say. Probably just a sailor's tale told to scare the new recruits. But researchers may have found its baby brother. The largest ever recorded squid was almost 60 feet long, but the researchers forgot to video it. Oh, no. The largest squid ever caught on camera was about 25 feet. That's like an RV. Scientists think there might be larger ones out there, but they're kind of camera shy. The great white shark, frightening ocean animals left and right. She's called the Queen of the Ocean. She's not one of those kind and gentle queens. Oh no. Scientists were able to tag her to study her more. This queen weighs about 3,500 pounds. That's like 6 motorbikes, or 14,000 hot dogs. She was caught in the waters off Nova Scotia by a team of terrified researchers. Good thing sharks only chill in the ocean. Unless, what about an episode of Shark Ninja Warriors? That was the biggest. Now, the longest. Good guess, but nope, definitely not a snake. But it is as long as half a football field. This animal was discovered in the deep waters off Australia. They found it there, glowing. And get this, scientists say it isn't even a single creature. It just acts like one. It's actually a whole colony, cloning and multiplying until it gets even bigger. Its technical name, This next animal can move on land and water. Don't be fooled by its short, scrawny legs. A crocodile can run as fast as a human on land. So if you're running a lap against these sprinters, try to climb up a tree as high as you can. Crocs can't climb trees, but you'd better believe they'll be waiting for you when you get down. They're also the heaviest reptiles in the world. An adult can weigh about the same as 2 small cars. The largest one in captivity was a saltwater croc in the Philippines. Lolong was his name, and he was 20 feet long. That's like 2 ping pong tables end to end, with a whole bunch of teeth. Slithering up next, another reptile, a beast of a serpent from Malaysia. Some workers were on break at a construction site on a hot day. They noticed something. Was it a large pipe? Well, this time it was a snake. They pulled out the longest python ever captured. It took more than 5 men to carry it out of the construction site without harming it or themselves. The beast was 26 feet long and weighed around 550 pounds. That's only a bit shorter than a light post. The previous record for the longest snake in captivity was the famous Medusa, also a python. That kind of snake can eat its whole weight for lunch. That's like me eating 280 burgers. I definitely don't want fries with that. Back to the water. Behold, the heaviest blue catfish ever caught! The Andersons bagged this guy in Virginia back in 2011, and they've been bragging about it ever since. Weighing in at a whopping 143 pounds, that's like fishing a washing machine out of the lake while standing on a small boat. That's why it took both father and son to drag it on deck. Honorable mention goes to the largest living cat in the world. Nope, it's not a lion or a tiger, but a little bit of both. It's a liger. Ligers don't exist out in nature, since lions and tigers live in totally different parts of the world. In wildlife parks, it's been done. Hercules holds this particular record. At over 900 pounds, he's the biggest carnivore mammal in the whole world. He's got his length from his mom, a tiger, and his weight from his dad, a lion called Arthur. Want to know what it's called when the mom is a lion and the dad's a tiger? A tigon. They're way less common than ligers, but they're just as bizarre. That sort of sounds like the ancient Greek mythical creature, the chimera. It was part lion, part goat, part snake, and some stories say it even had bat wings. Oh, and it breathed fire too. You'd need to bring in a whole bunch of Spartan firefighters to take care of that thing. But it probably hosts a sweet barbecue party. So what about us humans? The award goes to Robert Wadlow from Illinois. He was a staggering 8 foot 11 inches, and he could pick up his dad when he was just 9 years old. Just let that sink in for a while. He ate over 8,000 calories a day, and his shoe size was 37 AA.
The sight of its fin in the water nearly stops your heart. It's the reason you feel so uneasy going for a swim at the beach. That massive, razor-toothed hunter that's made its name known, the great white shark. So, if the ultimate terror of the sea is leaving the area, it must be for a good reason. But what could possibly scare the great white away? A giant Lovecraftian monster that makes even Megalodon look tiny? Nah, not even close. Nothing can clear a portion of the ocean as quickly as orcas can. When their powerful pods come looking for food like seals and squids, even the biggest, scariest sharks leave the area without looking back. It's not known if these whales specifically target great whites, or they're just keeping the competition out of the area. But what marine experts do know is that sharks flee, sometimes not even coming back until the following year. Yeah, makes sense. Orcas are much larger than great whites in size. They have plenty of teeth, and they'll use them to satisfy their merciless desire for meat. Orcas are also highly intelligent and will work as a team to get what they want, whether that's catching a school of fish, getting seals off the ice, or even chasing down humpback whales. So, if the great white shark itself is scared of the mighty orca, should you be? Well, me personally, I keep my distance from any wild animal. But maybe this will help you sleep better at night. Orcas are known to be picky eaters. Good news for you, human isn't on the menu. They aren't likely to change their diet just because you're in the water today. Oh, by the way, orcas aren't even whales. They're technically the largest species of dolphin. And sharks are also afraid of their relative, the bottlenose dolphin. Even a single bottlenose is too powerful for a shark, but they're tougher when they travel as a pod. Sharks are easily outmaneuvered by the highly agile marine mammals. They use that blunt snout like a battering ram. This basically annoys the shark so much that it just leaves the area. Now, if you think about other top hunters in the animal kingdom, wolves always come to mind. Packs can take over vast territories. And since they're at the top of the food chain, they get to pick and choose from a large menu with anything they please. They're highly intelligent, fast, and agile, but probably their biggest advantage? Numbers. If grizzlies or mountain lions try taking advantage of them, the numbers game always works in the wolves' favor, leading to the hunter becoming the hunted. Even without numbers, they dominate and terrify. It's too hard for any other animal to target a lone wolf, so even they are usually left alone. Imagine being able to pounce a wild boar in below freezing temperatures while dressed in orange against a completely snow-covered white environment. Siberian tigers are clearly not playing around. Over 10 feet long and weighing up to 400 pounds, they're the largest of all wild cats. This kitty could easily jump right over your head while carrying double its body weight. The only animal that can really challenge this king of the forest is a large enough brown bear, and it'd be a close call. No wonder the Siberian tiger is the top of the food chain in its part of the globe. As for the top boss in the waters of South America, that would be the green anaconda. Not even jaguars and caiman are safe around the biggest snake in the world. The murky waters of riverbanks camouflage the giant snake perfectly. They go unnoticed, sitting there waiting for something to come have a drink. And then, whoosh, the snake strikes. It uses its sharp curved teeth and 15 feet of pure muscle to hold its lunch in place. Luckily for most animals, after eating their fill, anacondas can go weeks or even months without worrying about their next meal. But the world's biggest snake isn't the most dangerous. That title belongs to the black mamba. Lions, spotted hyenas, giraffes, and even elephants will avoid the mamba at all costs. They all know one bite can stop them very quickly. Growing up to 14 feet, it's the second longest venomous snake in the world after the king cobra. The African black mamba does hold the top spot as the world's fastest snake. It slithers along going 12 miles per hour. That's about where most treadmills max out. Not top dog, but worth a mention is the green anaconda's neighbor, the electric eel. Very few animals are willing to take on such a highly charged creature. Electric eels have around 6,000 special cells that can produce up to 800 volts of electricity. That's more than 6 times the standard U.S. wall socket. That's enough to knock a horse off its feet and to power holiday lights. In 2019, a Tennessee aquarium hooked some tree lights up to their eel tank. Every time the eel shot the water, the trees lit up. Now, it's been said that the electric eel can recycle its volts in a process called revolting. Nah, I made that up. One more truthful eel fact to knock you off your feet: electric eels are air breathers. They have to surface about every 10 minutes to fill their mouth with air. Yep, their single lung is in their mouth. Does the king of the jungle reign unchallenged? In books and movies, sure. In real life, not so much. For one, their home is on the African plains, not the jungle. A whole assortment of contenders, like hyenas, leopards, and crocodiles, are always trying to take the king's crown. Even zebras and giraffes can stop the big cats with a quick kick if they're cornered. If we go by bite force, the African Nile crocodile has the biggest that humanity has ever measured. Its jaws are 5 times more powerful than that of a lion's. Now earlier, with the water critters, all you had to do was avoid the water. Good luck avoiding a lion. They can run 50 miles per hour, jump the length of a school bus, and climb trees. The lion's biggest challenger for the apex role is the African wild dog. These two are constantly going at it because they hunt for the same food in the same area. Where there's a big pride of lions, the dogs have no choice but to flee. But they've got one thing against the cats: endurance. Lions might reach incredible speeds, but that's only in short bursts. It takes too much energy to carry 400-plus pounds of muscle over long distances while going as fast as you can. African wild dogs, though, have long, slender legs and big lungs for their body size. Meaning, they can run fast and keep it up for miles. That's how they hunt. Their lunch just gets tired of running. There's one animal brave enough to take on the king if the cat gets too curious: the hippo. They may seem cute and squishy, but hippos are one of the most dangerous animals on the planet. Based on statistics, you should fear them way more than great white sharks. And there's nothing squishy about them. Hippos are pure muscle and weigh as much as a car. Their pointy canine teeth can grow longer than your forearm. These guys aren't afraid of anything. Even lions and crocodiles prefer to keep their distance. Their name means water horse, and they do spend up to 16 hours a day submerged. Funny thing is, hippos can't really swim. If you see one swimming, it's actually pushing itself off the lake or river bottom. It can still beat even the best Olympic swimmer speed, so watch out. Yep, move aside, Leo. Hippos are the true apex animal of Africa. But I wouldn't get close enough to give them the award. As for the ruler of the forest, make way for the grizzly bear. Weighing over half a ton, you'd be mistaken thinking these large fluff balls are slow and bumbling. Being able to maintain a speed of 25 miles per hour for long stretches is too easy for the behemoth brown bear. Uphill, downhill, and on every terrain, they're the off-road SUV of the animal world. Without having any natural enemies, this bear is at the top of its local food chain. Good thing they sleep for a third of the year. Just hope you don't run into a grizzly, ever. But especially right before it's about to go into hibernation. They spend the autumn months fattening up for winter. And they're even hungrier than usual. Now, being the largest bird of prey in North America, it's no wonder the golden eagle is found all over the continent in woodlands and mountain ranges. Their wingspan is nearly 8 feet. And they don't call it eagle vision for nothing. These birds can spot a rabbit from 3 miles up in the air. It'd be like you seeing an ant while standing on top of a 10-story building. Golden eagles can also make quick dives from a great height. During these dives, they can reach speeds up to 200 miles per hour, as fast as a flying arrow. Fail. What a waste of an hour running around with a rolled-up newspaper trying to get that fly that keeps buzzing around your head. Well, 3 things. Why isn't it afraid of you? And why won't it just fly away? And how is it so incredibly fast? Flies actually have a pretty normal speed for their size. You're just a bit too slow. A tiny fly brain reacts several times faster than yours to what it sees. 1 second to the fly feels like 5 or 6 to you. When a fly looks at you, it sees you as if you're hanging out at the bottom of your local pool, moving around really slowly. What if you dropped a balloon from your bedroom window and watched it fall to the ground? That's how slow a fly sees regular things fall. So it has ninja reaction speeds, but it also has special eyes. They're divided into thousands of receptors that capture light all at the same time. You use small muscles to turn your eyes and head around to look in different directions. Flies don't have these muscles. They don't need them. They can see in every direction at the same time almost. No matter what side you attack from, that fly's almost definitely going to see it coming. You've probably seen supersonic planes in the movies, turning and flipping around at warp speed. A fly's kind of like that, but with way cooler wings. It can change directions mid-flight, stop, and dodge any obstacles. It can even calculate a flight strategy before it takes off. Well, this time you're really gonna swat that fly. As you raise your rolled-up paper, the insect's brain calculates where it's gonna land. The fly immediately puts its body in the perfect position, ready to perform an evasive maneuver. If your hand moves in front of the insect, its legs immediately tilt backwards to help it fly off in the other direction. Wow, that fly would make a great boxer or soccer goalie. So why does that fly even bother sticking around? You're always trying to squish it. Well, because your body is a 5-star feast and your skin is the buffet table with row upon row of tasty treats. As you move about your day, your skin releases sweat, proteins, carbs, salt, sugar, and all other chemicals that flies are crazy about. Imagine you're hungry and thirsty, walking through a desert. You come over a tall sand dune and see it. Free food! Tables of fruit, candy, sandwiches, and the world's biggest soda fountain. The bouncer looks big, tough, round. It's a giant slow turtle. Now you know why the fly sticks around. You're the turtle. You actually do have a chance to get that fly, but it's still going to get away 8 times out of 10. Say a fly sitting on your kitchen table. Here's what you do. You need to aim a few inches in front of where you think it's going to fly to. The fly brain will think you're aiming right at it, so you can actually outwit the fly and take it by surprise. The problem? It's really hard to predict the fly's escape route. So you're too slow. How about calling in some backup? Meet the tiger beetle. Speed 8 feet per second. It can't fly, but that doesn't matter. This beetle runs so fast, it loses the ability to see while it's moving. It aims itself at a target and then runs. It's not a ninja like the fly, and it can't change directions mid-sprint. It has to stop before each run. You walk at around 4.5 feet per second, so the beetle goes like twice your speed. But for its size, it's incredibly fast. It runs 125 lengths of its body in 1 second. Now, say you're 6 feet tall. You have to run 750 feet in 1 second. As long as it's on the same surface as that pesky fly, the fly doesn't stand a chance. Or maybe it's time to call in air support. The dragonfly is the fastest flying insect in the world. This little creature can reach 35 miles per hour. That's faster than you riding your bike down a steep hill. The dragonfly's wings also allow it to fly back, right, left, up and down, just like a helicopter. Doesn't matter how fast the fly moves, it's pretty much game over. Flies, dragonflies, and tiger beetles are fast because they don't want to spend a lot of extra time out in the open. There are a lot of hungry creatures around. But there's one insect that runs fast because if it stopped, ouch! To meet a speedy silver ant, you need to go to the Sahara Desert. The sand here is so hot you could fry an egg on it. Sandy. That's why the silver ant speeds at around 2.5 feet per second. It doesn't want to burn its feet. It also has triangle-shaped hair that reflects heat, helping the ant escape the scorching sun. If that ant were human-sized, it could run at 400 miles per hour, faster than the fastest car in the world. There's another ant that holds a speed record. The Dracula ant can't run as fast as the silver ant, but it has the fastest mouth in the world, other than me. It can open and close its jaws 5,000 times, all in the blink of an eye. Literally. How about another fast one, this time a bit closer to home, or in it? The American cockroach can hide in the walls, behind the stove, pretty much anywhere. It's almost impossible to catch. It can run 5 feet per second. That's because of its 6 legs. Each one has 3 knees. Its legs are covered with small hairs that sense any change in the air. That's why it reacts so fast when you walk into the kitchen and turn the light on. And the world record for fastest creature on land is the size of a sesame seed. It's a type of mite, and it can move at 322 body lengths per second. If you zap the mite to turn it to human size, it could go almost 2 times faster than the speed of sound. The mite can even change direction while moving. That makes it the fastest, most elusive creature on the planet. But let's find some animals that actually make us feel good about ourselves. The garden snail. It belongs to the mollusk family, and it likes to take its sweet time. If you were moving at snail speed, you'd take 2 steps every 2 hours. But snails don't care. They've been around for hundreds of millions of years. Snails use their shell for protection, but they have other tricks too. Some snails give off a nasty smell so that no one bothers them. If it gets too hot and dry, snails hide in their shells and seal themselves in using that cool slime they make. That slime also helps them climb up trees. Sloths are the slowest mammals on the planet. Thanks to their slow metabolism, food can take up to 16 days to get digested. Wouldn't be that hard to catch up to one of them, but their slowness actually helps them. You know how in the movies they say, "Stop, don't make any sudden movements"? Well, a sloth has that part down cold. Other animals simply don't notice them up there among the leaves. Manatees are one of the slowest sea creatures, but they're not too worried about anyone messing with them, except for humans in motorboats. They are huge and they have thick skin. It's like a sea tank, but way cuter. Another slow swimmer is the Greenland shark. It swims at less than 1 mile per hour. Like the manatee, it's large and in charge. No one's likely to challenge it face to face. But this all leads to the most hilarious snacking technique ever. The Greenland shark is basically slower than every single fish in the water. The only chance it has is to wait for some of those fish to fall asleep. Then it's snack time. The cool thing is that their easygoing lifestyle actually prolongs their life. The average lifespan of a Greenland shark is 300 to 500 years. They live in the North Atlantic and Arctic Oceans. Imagine you're on a cruise and you see one of these slow-motion giants. It might be 400 years older than you. You wake up with your head feeling heavy. 1. Where's your comfy bed? And 2. Why were you just sleeping on the wet and dirty ground in the middle of nowhere? Wait, what's all this stuff around you? Are you in the jungle? There's a backpack nearby with essentials like water, cookies, candy bars, and a jacket. It's yours for sure, but still, hello, how on earth did you get here? Wait, jacket? It's insanely hot. You definitely won't be needing that. Seriously, what is this place? Giant leafy plants? Thick rainforest trees? Huh? Kinda looks like Jurassic. You jump in fear, look around, and run under one of those shady plants. Okay, not a great choice, and definitely not the best time to recall that you're terrible at hide and seek. There's a huge, weird-looking animal coming out of the bushes, staring at you. Dinosaur! You scream, you shiver, you cover your eyes. Not exactly how you were expecting your morning to go. Wait a minute. Dinosaurs don't bark. You open your eyes. That thing definitely charged at you, but now it's just jumping around, wagging its long tail, barking, and sticking its tongue out. And it looks so familiar. It's a dog? You almost cry out in relief. That thing's weird. Dogosaurus? What else could it be? Big, gray, and hairy, but insanely familiar to a T-Rex. Its front legs are actually short little arms, and its long muzzle with sharp teeth is all over you. Well, Dogosaurus is covering you with dino slobber. Another hairy thing comes out of the bushes. White and fluffy, short front legs, long dark gray tail, ridiculously big ears. It's a dino rabbit. The two animals start chasing each other and goofing around. Is this for real? Dogosaurus gets bored and comes running up to you, starts rubbing its head on your arm. You pet it, while also wondering what to do next. What happens if this thing gets annoyed or hungry? I'm gonna call it Max. You grab a random stick and throw it as far as possible. Well, at least that's over. The dino dog's gone and questions start overloading your brain. What's that thing doing in the jungle? What else lives here? Are they all gonna be that friendly? It doesn't take long to find out. A horrifying sound fills your ears. You turn slowly this time. Another surprise. Just a few feet away, another huge beast is staring at you. Its eyes are the scariest part, wide open and pointed directly at you. You hold your breath. It could all be over in an instant. But after a moment, you let out a sigh of relief. It's only a zebra. Well, Zebrasaurus. Bizarre. Black and white stripes over a muscular body, and wow, that head is long. Its tail looks like it means business, and its back is covered with bony plates. Zebrasaurus takes a step forward. Zebras, they just eat grass and stuff, right? Hope this thing does too. Let's see, 3 options: run, lie still, or pet the giant Zebrasaurus. Wham! A way more hairy beast jumps out of the bushes and the race is on. Was that a chuckle? A laugh? Wait, was that a hyena? Hyenasaurus? Hyenas have one of the strongest jaws and necks around. That plus dinosaur? Pretty serious combination. One option, run. That zebra seems to know what's up. You start running, fighting off huge leafy plants and tripping over the roots of tall jungle trees. You jump, duck, dodge, and finally get out of the jungle. A beach. Perfect! Now you've got time to think about what you just saw. What's the plan now? Ocean, palm, sun, and finally, some fresh sea air. You take a deep breath and close your eyes. Quiet as a feather, giant paws softly crushing the grass, the whoosh of an elegant tail. huge, grayish, and strong, with insanely long claws hidden in her big soft paws. And the head, gross. You do a double take. Still gross. It looks like a bear's skull with sharp teeth and warm yellow eyes. This animal's not interested in you at all. It crouches down, looks ready to pounce. Then the Catosaurus lazily purrs and starts licking its fur. Well, at least it didn't think you looked like a mouse, a stick, a ball, a cardboard box. Cats like the weirdest things. No time. The beach is suddenly full of gigantic red crabs. There's hundreds of them lying around, resting their long, sharp claws. Since when do crabs have 10 eyes and 4 huge claws? Crabosoraptors do. You cover your mouth, but the scream comes out anyways. You run back into the jungle. Not the best idea. This time you run and never look back. Your only goal is not to hear those rasping, clicking Crabosoraptor claws anymore. Something's different though. The jungle's changed. The jungle looks like it's morphing. No more vines, huge weird leaves. The air's cooler. The paths are a bit wider. Apparently, you're in a forest now. You come across a large open field with a big dreamy lake in the middle. Perfect selfie location, apart from all those dino things, and trees that can shapeshift apparently. A piercing scream flies across the lake. Pretty easy to recognize this graceful animal, even if the color's a bit off. It's a gray swanadactyl, S-shaped neck and everything. But this swan's had a few upgrades installed. Razor-sharp beak, big strong claws, and eyes that look like they can spot a tasty meal from miles away. Well, you're not a fish, so you'll probably be all right. Apart from that, the lake is gorgeous. Water lilies everywhere, the size of tables. Humongous lilies, humongous, ribbit, ribbit. Great, Frogosaurus, that's a thing now. A huge one jumps out of the water and lands like a ninja on a lily. It looks like a huge rock, covered with dark gray bumpy skin. There's no Prince Charming hiding in that thing, no way. Whew! You hide behind a giant bush. That frog has an epic-sized tongue. Nasty. Not even that crazy tongue could save it from what was coming up behind it. The floating head of a giant Crocodilosaurus Raptorex something. It looks the same as a regular crocodile, only much bigger, like it needed any help to make it scarier. Frogosaurus jumps back into the water and starts to swim away with its huge back legs. The chase is on, and pretty soon they both disappear under the surface. Sure hope that guy made it. You almost feel sorry for the poor frog, but there's no time to think. The ground starts to shake. That's never good. A couple of trees near you crash to the ground. It looks like an upside-down boat. What is that thing? Oh, Turtlesaurus. That guy needs to lay off the coffee and protein bars. What's that buzzing? It's getting louder and louder. 2 things. 1, that sounds like a bee. 2, please let it just be normal size. But instead of a tiny flying insect, a human-sized B-Rex lands on the giant turtle shell. It's got its legs like a power lifter, and its antennas look sharp. If it's only one, that's okay. Hopefully. Out of nowhere, you hear a horrifying shriek. Oh, please make it stop already. A giant shadow covers the ground, and you look up. Some sort of bird-like dinosaur. These things actually have an official name, but you have no idea what it is. You only see its reddish-blue feathers, a sharp beak full of sharper teeth, and what are those things coming out of its wings? The bird sees the B-Rex and swoops down to grab itself a midday snack. But B-Rex hides under the turtle shell. Good thinking. Something tells me I wouldn't be that fast or clever if that happened to me. I'd probably just… and then it happens. Its dark, creepy eyes notice you from a distance. You take a small step back. So far, none of the other animals have noticed you. Crack! A twig snaps under your shoe, and suddenly dozens of eyes latch onto you. Curious, angry, hungry eyes. Back to option number 1, run. You're going as fast as you can, but everything seems hopeless. You've come to a huge cliff with a river way down at the bottom. You close your eyes and jump. Boom! Your whole body shakes. You open your eyes, you're awake. It was all just a bad dream, right? Right? And they're off. The Nile crocodile easily outswims the hippo. They're swimming upstream against a heavy current. But the croc's body is built for swimming through rough water. It weighs as much as 2 refrigerator freezers and is thought to be the heaviest reptile on Earth. It can swim up to 22 miles per hour. The hippo can't swim. Not really. It just walks on the bottom of the river and pushes off from any big rock it finds. It can close its nostrils whenever it wants to be able to glide a bit through the water, but it's no match for the croc. The croc reaches the shore and starts running through a field. But better make way, the hippo's catching up. It's speeding across the flat terrain. Even though it's huge, the hippo can outsprint a human. The croc was miles ahead, but the hippo's faster on foot. The hippo breaks through the ribbon. It's all over! Beep beep! Hey there, Roadrunner! What you running from? Wait, hold everything. That coyote is catching up fast. He's right on your tail. The greater Roadrunner can run up to 20 miles per hour, even faster when it's really hungry. Despite what you see in cartoons, a coyote is actually twice as fast as a Roadrunner, but the cartoon version is way funnier. In Lane 1, from the dense jungles of South America, the ever-slow sloth. And right underneath him, in Lane 2, we have a typical garden snail. And the race is on for the slowest animal on Earth. With the sloth's top speed clocking in at 0.2 miles per hour. It's no wonder they call it a giant moving pillow. Well, I call them that. The snail's off to a good start. It can cover a small neighborhood in about an hour. This boneless creature has only 1 foot, which is covered in protective slime. It's too blurry to see, but I think the sloth is still in the same spot. And now it's asleep. It'll probably be asleep through the whole race. A sloth can snooze it up for 15 hours a day. It's asleep for more than half of its life. And look, the snail got out of that sunny patch. Next up, a shady patch. Ooh, it's too close to call. We'll have to wait till the sloth wakes up to get back to this race. A grizzly bear can easily outrun a human. If you're at a picnic and you cook up something a little too yummy, better leave your lunch behind. The fastest a human can sprint is 28 miles per hour, set of course by Usain Bolt, so he'd probably be able to run away in time. If you're slower than him, which you are, then you're in trouble. In a one-on-one sprint between a human and a grizzly bear, you're going to be the bear's lunch every time. But out of all the bears, which one's the fastest? Polar bears, grizzly bears, brown bears, sun bears, and the cute cuddly panda bear. On your marks, get set, go! The tension is palpable. The grizzly and the brown bear are claw to claw. A brown bear can easily run as fast as a grizzly. The sun bear is the smallest bear in the race. It's about 6 feet long, or tall, or whatever. It just can't keep up. The polar bear got off to a great start, but it just doesn't have the speed of the grizzly or brown bear. Grizzly takes the lead. No, it's the brown bear. Now grizzly. Wait, where's panda? What's it doing? I don't think it knows it's a race, but isn't it cute? It just finished its 3rd bamboo stick. A panda bear can eat up to 28 pounds of bamboo a day. That's like a lot. But it's off. It found its shortcut and is rolling down that hill. It zooms past the grizzly and the brown bear. It's all over. Panda wins. Sorry, bears. We all know that the panda isn't exactly fast. It's actually one of the slowest bears. Still, if you see a panda rolling down the hill in your direction, run. A Boeing 747 has a top speed of around 620 miles per hour. The fastest bird is the gray-headed albatross. It can fly up to 80 miles per hour and stay up there for 10 hours without landing. The peregrine falcon is faster, but only when it's diving straight down to grab some takeout. Watch out, pigeon! Wow. Big planes take a long time to get up in the air, but the albatross? It's up and off in a few seconds. It's in the lead. But a few minutes later, back to Slow-Moville. The sloth's awake, that's good, but so far it's only managed to lift its arm to reach that tree branch. The garden snail's still trying to get past that big rock. Sloths spend a lot of their time as motionless as possible, so that they don't become someone else's breakfast. Not great training for a race. But hold on! Player 3 has entered the race. It's the Galapagos tortoise. Its powerful front legs carry this tank of an animal. It's a whopping 4 times faster than a garden snail. This just got interesting. We got ourselves the race that'll last a century. The tortoise is running and dodging every obstacle. Nothing can stop it. Hey, no cheating, sloth. Don't be dropping tree branches from up there. Deep underground, a mole's busy burrowing around. A mole can eat as many earthworms as his own body weight and can dig around 15 feet per hour. The American badger is the fastest digging animal in the world and is surprisingly fast on land. It can almost match the speed of a human on a good day. Head-to-head, the American badger wins the tunnel race pretty easily. Too bad the mole can't see where it's going. Moles aren't really blind, they just have terrible eyesight and they're colorblind, and they can't wear glasses down there. Ah, the proud cheetah. It's sprinting across the savannah at warp speed. I've been the fastest land mammal for millions of years. I got this! The fastest cheetah on record was a sprinter named Sarah. When she was 11, she ran the 100 meters in under 6 seconds. A cheetah can run up to 80 miles per hour if it sees something tasty. Sarah was raised in an American zoo and was one of the first cheetahs to have a puppy buddy when she was growing up. Alexa and Sarah, friends forever. But soaring above Sarah is a humble little bat, and that bat is making Sarah look slow. The Brazilian free-tailed bat can hit 100 miles per hour. It's the fastest mammal on the planet. Now, time for some shrinking. First to the blocks is the Australian tiger beetle. It charges forward at 6 miles per hour. That may not seem like much, but relative to its size, it's lightning fast. That's like a human running alongside a high-speed train. Running in the inside lane is the Saharan silver ant. Ants are team players and are strongest when they're working together. But even one ant can be amazingly strong. An ant can lift hundreds of times its own weight and can sprint like there's no tomorrow. Usain Bolt can hit 4 strides per second. This silver ant does 50. Scientists even discovered that these little ants like to gallop once they reach their top speed. Our last contender, the fastest animal on Earth. It's none other than this tiny mite. It's only the size of a sesame seed. If we go by body lengths per second, this microscopic animal outruns everything else on the planet. It's believed to run almost twice as fast as the tiger beetle, and if it were human size, it would run faster than the speed of sound. Let's get back to the crawlers. They finish yet? The tortoise is in the lead. The snail finally got past that large rock, and the sloth is on its way to branch number 2. The tortoise is 3 feet away from the finish line. Wow, I just can't take much more of this excitement. But I think I have time for a latte. Your cat lady friend has asked you to cat sit her loves while she's away for the weekend. You arrive at the house and open the fridge to feed them something healthy, like chicken. You notice a bar of chocolate and decide to give it to them as a treat. Wow, that's a siren! Your friend calls you and yells at you. Turns out she has an alarm system that goes off when there's any danger to her kitties. You should never ever feed them chocolate. It has some toxic substance in it called theobromine. No worries, human metabolism naturally takes care of it. That's why you can safely eat chocolate. Lots of it. The more the better. Oops, sorry, got carried away. Well, this doesn't work the same way for cats, though. Another dangerous component is caffeine. All sorts of chocolate are dangerous to them. Semi-sweet, milk, and even white chocolate with its low percentage of cocoa. Also, there's chocolate brownies, donuts, cookies, and candies. The worst kinds are dark and baker's quality chocolate because they have more cocoa in them. A tiny square of baking chocolate can do as much harm as 23 wrapped chocolate drops. Chocolate ice cream might not be that dangerous cocoa-wise, but it also has sugar and lactose from the milk, so it's another no-go. Chocolate is also poisonous to dogs, but the hazard depends on their size. Owners of hamsters, rabbits, and birds must all exclude chocolate from their pet's diet too. Artificial sweetener xylitol is also bad for pets with no exceptions. It can be found in candy, sugarless gum, toothpaste, baked goods, and many diet foods. It's most dangerous for dogs. You better make sure any foods containing it are out of reach. Now, most cats just love tuna, and it's fine for them to eat the cat food variety of it. Regular canned tuna for humans on a regular basis can deprive them of some important nutrients cats need to be healthy. Don't leave open cans anywhere accessible for your kitty. Liver is safe for felines in small amounts, but too much of it can give them more vitamin A than they can handle. Neither cats nor dogs need onions in any form, powdered, raw, cooked, or dehydrated in their diet. Garlic is 5 times stronger than onions, so it must be excluded as well. Never give your cat a saucer of milk, a piece of cheese, or other dairy. Most felines can't digest lactose, so it would cause them serious stomach issues. The same is true for dogs. Dairy products can cause food allergies in them. So instead of sharing your ice cream cone on a summer day, give your pup cold water to drink. Grapes and raisins aren't exactly the best treat for your pet. Even a small amount can make them sick. Early symptoms would be sluggishness in dogs and hyperactivity in cats. Caffeine in coffee, tea, and even the beans and the grounds, as well as cola and energy drinks, can be fatal for your fluffy family member. It increases heart rate and breathing, makes them restless, and gives them muscle tremors as early symptoms. Fat trimmings off meat and bones, both cooked and uncooked, can give your kitty or doggy some bad digestion issues. Bones are dangerous for both as they can choke on them. They can also become an obstruction in the digestive system, and that's no good. Raw eggs and meat can be the reason of food poisoning in cats because of some sneaky bacteria in them. Raw egg whites also contain a protein that can give your kitty skin and coat problems. Raw fish is also bad. It contains an enzyme that destroys vitamin B, which is super important for felines. When they don't have enough of it, they can have neurological problems. Now, if you like to feed your cat dog food or your dog cat food, stop right there. If either of them tries a bite of the other species' food by accident, it won't be that bad. But on a regular basis, cats need a diet that's richer in proteins and certain vitamins and fatty acids. Dog food doesn't have enough of these nutrients. Dogs need a much more balanced diet than cats, and cat food is too high in fat, calories, and protein for them. It could lead to obesity and seriously upset their tummies. Something as harmless and vitamin-rich as an avocado can give your pup food allergies. The reason for it is that the leaves, seed, and bark and the fruit of an avocado are all rich in persin. Too much of this fatty acid-like substance can cause less than pleasant stomach issues. Plus, the seed can become an obstruction in the stomach. Avocados are also one of the most dangerous foods for rabbits and are bad for pet birds because of persin. Some types of birds are fine with it, and some give them heart damage. So it's better not to play the guessing game and not give them the fruit at all. Persimmons, peaches, and plums are a no-go because they have seeds or pits. Peach and plum pits aren't just a prospective obstruction in the intestines, but also have cyanide in them. It's poisonous for both people and dogs. When yeast dough gets in a cat or dog's stomach, it does its natural thing. It rises. This can stretch the pet's abdomen and give them pain. When you're baking, don't leave the dough where your pet can snack on it. Just 6 raw or roasted macadamia nuts can make your dog real sick. It's even more dangerous when Spot gets a chocolate with macadamia nuts. Well, that's a bad twofer right there. Even if it begs for chips or pretzels, never give it to your pup. Too much salt will make it thirsty and also give them unpleasant stomach issues and depression. For pet birds, salt is even more dangerous. Just one pretzel can upset the fluence balance in them and give them dehydration. Apples, cherries, apricots, and pears, and other fruits with seeds and pits are all dangerous for birds because of cyanide they contain. Without seeds, they're safe to eat. Rabbits are better off without them too. Tomatoes are perfectly safe for birds, but their stems, vines, and leaves are toxic and must be avoided. High-fat foods, such as butter, oil, fatty meats, and nuts, can give birds, especially Amazon and Quaker parrots, high cholesterol and obesity. Onions and garlic in large amounts cause digestive problems in birds. Mushrooms have the same effect. Hamsters need a diverse diet that must not include processed sugary foods, junk food, tomatoes, and bitter almonds because they're rich in cyanide. Peanuts have too much fat for a hamster, and the salty option can make them dehydrated. They can only handle really small amounts of fruit, and it must always be properly washed, as well as vegetables. Fat is bad for your pet fish, so make sure there's no more than 3% of it in the food you get for it, and up to 6% for carnivores. Always keep their dry food in a tightly sealed smaller container. Water ruins it, and when you open a large container a lot, fish food absorbs moisture from the air. In the wild, turtles never miss a chance to eat and can snack on almost anything. They won't find dairy there, and they can't break down lactose, so don't feed them milk, cheese, yogurt, and other dairy products. Don't give them too much raw meat, fish, or chicken, as they get more protein than they need. Processed human foods such as sausage or canned foods, French fries, ketchup are a terrible idea as well. They have too much salt and other preservatives. Also, watch out for fruits, especially if you have an aquatic turtle. Rabbits don't need yogurt drops, high-carb treats like muesli, bread, pasta, cookies and crackers, and cereal in their diet. Iceberg lettuce is another no-go because it has a chemical that's dangerous for their health. Potatoes and parsnip with lots of starch are difficult to digest. Peanut butter also gives them a tummy ache. Hamster food, as well as dog or cat food, must never end up in a rabbit's bowl. It has too much of the wrong vitamins and minerals and not enough nutrients the rabbit needs. So every evening, right before you're about to switch off the television and go to bed, your pooch enters the living room. It sprawls out on the floor and seems to be watching TV. In 2012, in the UK, a company producing dog food created an unusual commercial. It was made to attract dogs' attention. The ad used special high-frequency sounds. They were inaudible to the human ear, but dogs could hear them very well. The idea was simple. A pooch gets so entranced by the commercial that owners can't but notice it, and the next dog food they buy is the advertised product. In theory, the idea sounded promising. In reality, most dogs showed no reaction whatsoever, meaning ads can't probably manipulate pets as well as they influence people. But even though this experiment was a failure, dogs still do find watching TV interesting. You may have noticed your fluffy companion react to animals, moving objects, and other images appearing on the screen. It's almost as if they see the same things you do. If we talk about colors, TV and reality don't look different to dogs. They see the world in shades of yellow and blue, and can't pick out green and red hues. Plus, canine vision is somewhat blurred. Dogs process what's happening on the screen in a different way than you do. When you watch something, your brain needs 16 to 20 video frames per second to detect movement. For your pooch, this number must be more than 70 frames per second. Let's say your pet is seated in front of an old TV. In this case, what the animal sees looks like a flip book. If it's a modern television, your pup is likely to be much more interested, because modern TV sets have a faster video frame rate. As for the content itself, dogs react to the same stuff that would attract their attention in real life. It can be squeaking toys, commands, and other dogs barking, growling, yipping, and whatnot. If the TV screen isn't showing anything related to dogs, though, your pet will probably remain completely uninterested. In a 2017 experiment, dogs were offered to watch different activities happening on 3 screens. The animals didn't show any preferences for one screen over the others. In fact, they didn't look even a tiny bit curious or eager to spend some time in front of any of the TVs. It might be because dogs have a super short TV attention span. Usually, they only look at the screen for a couple of seconds at a time. On the other hand, hunting dogs, which are innately interested in moving objects, can get more captivated, while those canines that mostly rely on smell will get bored in no time. Other pets, like cats or parrots, also seem to enjoy an occasional TV show or two. Many parrot owners are sure their birds love watching TV. They get excited when a particular commercial is on. They can even start flapping their wings, dancing, or whistling. But what do they see on the screen? A parrot's vision is different from yours in several ways. For one thing, its eyes are on the sides of the head, not facing forward. It helps the bird to see a larger area and protect itself from enemies. But even though parrots have a broader vision, they can't perceive depth well enough. It means that images on a widescreen TV look much flatter to them than they do to you. When you're watching TV, you see one constant image. But for parrots, the screen is constantly flickering at a fast speed. And the coolest thing? These birds can see ultraviolet light, but the human eye can't detect it. And how about cats? These animals are natural hunters. That's why they most often react to the images of rodents and birds. In one study, more than 100 cats watched TV for 3 hours a day. The felines were split into 5 focus groups. Each group had its own program to view, which ranged from the footage of people and animals moving to a blank screen. The average time the cats spent watching TV was a bit more than 6%. The most popular were the shows about animals. If your cat likes staring at the screen from time to time, try not to let it alone in front of the TV. The chances are your pet's hunting instincts will take over. And when it pounces to catch a bird flying on the screen, your television will end up on the floor. All in all, it might not be bad that our pets have such limited screen time. But this whole TV watching situation makes me think, how do different creatures see the world around them? Fish's eyes are not that different from ours, but they're covered with a protective film. Otherwise, fish wouldn't be able to see clearly underwater. Like in the human eye, there are rods for black and white vision and cones for color vision in the fish's eyes. Some fish species, like tank-dwelling goldfish, can also see ultraviolet. Fish's eyes are also designed in such a way that everything located nearby looks bigger than it really is. Snakes have rather poor vision. That's why they have to stick out their tongues to get an idea of what's going on around them. On the bright side, snakes can spot thermal radiation amazingly well. All living creatures emit this kind of radiation. At night, this natural ability is 10 times more effective than any modern night vision device. But during the day, snakes can only react to movement. Rats and mice don't have perfect vision either. It's quite blurry, with bad depth perception. These rodents perceive colors a bit like people with red-green color blindness. Everything looks bluish, and the colors they do see are kind of faded. Also, rats and mice are likely to connect smells with what they see at the moment. They mostly perceive the world with the help of their whiskers through touch. Move over. Cows can see the world in much less vibrant colors than most people. Only a few hues look bright, the rest are faded. These animals also don't see things clearly enough. It's because they can't focus their eyes as fast as people do. Plus, cows need more time to process visual information. They have poor depth perception because of their limited vertical vision. It's 60 degrees versus 140 degrees in humans. You might have noticed cows stop before walking across shadows. That's because they can't tell whether it's a shadow or a ditch or a hole in the ground. Horses can see almost 360 degrees, but they have 2 blind spots, a small one directly in front of their noses and the other behind their tails. Horses don't see colors as bright as we do. Their color deficiency makes it hard for them to spot some objects. They also can't distinguish red colors. People can see more hues than bees, but bees have a broader range of color vision. You base your color combinations on blue, green, and red, and bees on blue, green, and ultraviolet. These insects don't have special photoreceptors to see the red color, but they can distinguish yellow, orange, and a unique color called bees purple. That's a mixture of yellow and ultraviolet light. Bees see color 5 times faster than people. Their color vision is not only the speediest in the animal world, it also helps them find natural landing strips invisible to people. Flies' eyes don't move, but their spherical shape and the way they stick out of the bugs' heads gives flies an almost 360-degree vision. These insects can't focus and are short-sighted, just like some people I know. But the coolest thing about how they see the world? It resembles a mosaic, thousands of teeny images that together create the whole picture. Flies are so jumpy for a reason. Even though these bugs don't see well, they're great at picking up movement. This ability helps them flee in the blink of an eye. That's flee as in get away, not flee as in the bugs on your dog. Are we clear? Good. Moving on. Sharks see the world in monochrome. These creatures are a bit short-sighted, but sharks only need the sense of sight once they're closing in on their soon-to-be dinner. And in dim light, a shark can see almost 10 times better than you do. Garden snails' eyes don't focus or see colors, but these slow creatures can make out other living beings coming close. Snails also know how to navigate toward dark, safe places, all thanks to their ability to analyze the difference in light intensity. Adult giant clams don't move. They attach themselves to a rock or coral and watch the world through hundreds of tiny pinhole eyes. Those are situated along the edges of their soft bodies. Clams can distinguish 3 different colors, but unfortunately, they can't combine the information they receive. That's why they see bright and colorful but totally shapeless images. But that's no slam on the clam, and they're also delicious. This day isn't different than any other. Well, not yet anyway. You crawl out of bed, your hair's a mess, a huge yawn stretching your jaws. 5 more minutes and you could be late. So, no time to waste. You blast through your morning routines, skip breakfast, throw on your jacket, and hurriedly close the door. Bang! Darkness. You slowly blink your eyes open. The air smells different, making you feel dizzy. Your ears catch something similar to a dino movie soundtrack. Once you glance around, though, you realize it looks like a prehistoric world too. It's humid and warm. Everything around you looks green and lush. You spot several creatures moving among the trees. Some of them have bills that make them look like overgrown ducks. Others have horns. That's when your brain kicks in. Those are dinosaurs. So you have indeed somehow moved all the way back to prehistoric times. Right after the realization hits, you feel something tickling your arm. With a feeling of dread, you sneak a peek. What is this creature comfortably nestled on your sleeve? What you notice first is that it's tiny, way smaller than your cat. It's likely napping on your pillow back at home in the moment. Picture a hummingbird, the smallest bird on Earth. The creature on your sleeve is even smaller than that. Is it some weird prehistoric insect? Nope, it's a dino, the tiniest dinosaur that ever lived. The creature's called oculodentavis, which means in Latin, eye-toothed bird. With a skull that's less than 1/4 of an inch long, the animal itself is about 2 inches long. You can hardly feel its weight on your arm. The tiny thing doesn't weigh more than an ounce. The dino is obviously a meat eater. It has more than 100 microscopic teeth. They're conical with sharp edges. For a second, you can't breathe. What if it bites you? You don't even know if the thing is venomous. But it looks as if the dino bird is only interested in insects that are flying by. The creature also has huge eyes. They're so large it's a bit alarming. They face to the sides and bulge out of its head. They're built in the way that makes it clear the tiny dino is active most during the day. If only there was a scientist next to you. They would tell you how such a minuscule creature could exist in the prehistoric world of giants. It was likely because of the miniaturization. That's when relatively large animals became smaller over generations. It sometimes happens to species that live on islands or are isolated from other animals. Another thing an expert could tell you, the creature sitting on your arm might not even be a dino. After scientists examined the ancient animal's skull, or should we say will examine, they suggested it was not a dinosaur, but a lizard. But even if their guess is right, it was a bizarre lizard. After all, it has a bird's head. Anyway, whatever the animal is, you are tired of standing still trying not to disturb it. But as soon as you take a step, everything goes dark again. Bang! You cautiously open your eyes. Another day, another jungle. You look around to check your surroundings, and that's when you notice that several massive bushes on the left have started to move. You know you should probably run away as fast as you can, but your curiosity wins. You sneak up closer to have a look, and your ear-piercing shriek is heard miles away. The creature you're looking at is similar to a millipede, an enormous 6-foot-long millipede, the largest among them all. It's called Arthropleura. Scientists aren't sure why this bug, like many others, was so large 300 million years ago. Maybe because there was too much oxygen in the atmosphere, 30% of the air then versus 21% now. It probably helped prehistoric insects grow so massive. Plus, there was nothing around that could eat them. The only comforting thought that doesn't let you pass out from sheer horror is that the monster isn't likely to be a meat-eater. It's related to millipedes, and they eat decomposing organic matter. Yum. You hardly have some time to take a breath when something swooshes past you. You realize it's time you got used to scary, overgrown creatures. This flying one looks like a dragonfly, but its wingspan is no less than 2 feet. Scientists claim it's been the largest known insect of all time. The craziest thing, though? The insect looks exactly like a scaled-up dragonfly, but it actually belongs to the now extinct order of griffin flies. But what's that? Instead of flying away, the not a dragonfly is turning back. It's moving toward you. Paralyzed by fear, you don't even try to run away. Bang! Darkness. Well, this is getting old. You open your eyes and see a dark shadow towering over your lying body. This is definitely a dino. You even know its name, the Stegosaurus. These large dinosaurs lived during the late Jurassic period, around 150 million years ago. They had absolutely amazing plates placed along their spine. The largest were more than 2 feet tall and 2 feet wide. Stegosauruses were heavy, massive, and clumsy. They grew more than twice as tall as an adult person and weighed about 5 tons. At the same time, this huge body was controlled by a tiny brain. It was twice smaller than the brain of a modern dog. It was one of the reasons why the dinosaur was such a slow thing. Some experts claim its maximum speed was no more than 5 miles per hour. Now, before you have time to get afraid, you realize the creature isn't interested in you whatsoever. But what an impressive plant-eating machine it is! With the help of its toothless beak, it's nipping low-growing plants like pines, firs, and cyads. But soon, you understand you shouldn't let your guard down. A dark shadow covers the sky. Ah, you know this guy too. That's a pterodactyl. It was the first discovered species of pterosaurs, large flying reptiles. The pterodactyl walked on 4 legs and, unlike some other members of its family, it had teeth. By the way, even though pterodactyls were flying creatures, they weren't ancestors of modern-day birds. Those descended from tiny meat-eating dinosaurs that walked on 2 legs and were covered in feathers. Anyway, the creature circling in the air over your head doesn't look as frightening as in the movies. It's rather small, with its wingspan no more than 3 feet. But to be on the safe side, you decide to hide under the trees. Hey, you've been around pigeons. Imagine a present from this character. Never mind. It's just your luck to trip over a tree root while retreating to the questionable safety of the forest. Your back hits the ground. Bang! Darkness. Well, when you come around again, you find it hard to breathe. It feels as if something's wrapped around your body. You raise your head, slowly and cautiously. Is this day gonna end? A colossal snake has coiled itself around you. The creature's so large, you immediately realize it's the titanoboa. No other reptile, living or extinct, can be that big. The snake weighs more than a ton and is probably around 42 feet long. For comparison, one of the largest modern snakes, the anaconda, weighs 1/4 of a ton and reaches the length of 30 feet at the most. The titanoboa lived around 60 million years ago in South America. Just like modern anacondas, it loved damp places hidden in tropical rainforests. Scientists aren't sure, but they think the prehistoric reptile could live in or near the water. Then it probably fed on crocodiles, turtles, and even fish. Suddenly, you feel the snake move. Is it going to squeeze tight around you? That's when you start to regret you can't do that time jump thing at your whim, and then, bang, darkness. You find yourself on the bank of a wide river. Once you get closer to the water, you notice something moving under the surface. You lean down to check what it is, but the next moment you spring back in fear. The 2-foot-long fish you see has a single row of triangular razor-sharp teeth, each serrated like a steak knife. It's the mega piranha. Now, be extremely cautious. This creature packs a terrifying bite. Its force is almost 30 times the piranha's weight. And on average, this creature weighed 20 to 30 pounds. For comparison, its modern version doesn't grow heavier than 2 pounds. The mega piranha lived 6 to 10 million years ago in South America. Well, too long ago and too far away from your home. You sit down on the ground farther away from the river and begin to wait. Sooner or later, there will be the already familiar boom and the darkness. It'll mean your adventures will continue. Then you remember that strange-tasting burrito you had for dinner last night. Could there be some connection? Jellyfish and coral. One looks like a plant while the other swims like a fish. And yet, somehow they're related. These two belong to the same family group of creatures with stinging tentacles. Ow! Hard to say it for coral, but it's actually an animal. Plants make their own food, corals don't. They're made up of thousands of polyps, which are tiny coral creatures. They have kind of small tentacle-like arms they use to catch food and sweep it into their mouths. They look all innocent and harmless like a marine flower just standing there doing nothing. That's probably what jellyfish think too, floating near them, hiding from some bigger predators. And bam, when it least expects it, coral grabs one. Biologists were surprised at how strong coral was. Catching a bigger animal that moves, unlike them, was excellent teamwork. A couple of polyps grab the jelly's bell with tentacles, while others quickly go for its feeding arms. And poor jelly has no chance to escape. Since they're distant cousins, scientists believe corals are immune to the venom from jelly stingers. Scorpions and ticks. Ticks sure look like insects, but following their lineage, scientists realize they're closely related to scorpions. They can both live on liquid food, have a great sense of smell, which they use to find food, and 8 legs. Scorpions are better at surviving harsh conditions. They can go an entire year without food. But when eating, which is every couple of weeks, they don't only go for small critters like insects and spiders, but for mice and some lizards too. It looks like both of them have been around for over 400 million years. Yup, long before dinosaurs arrived, or me. Scientists think they could be one of the first animals that moved from water to land. They found the fossilized claw of a sea scorpion 18 inches long, which implies the beast itself was 8 feet long. In fact, after finding the claw, scientists realized giant crabs, scorpions, and spiders used to be way bigger than we think. Meerkats and civet cats. They look like cats, and yet neither is remotely related to them. But they have pretty long, nimble bodies, which makes them distant cousins of weasels and mongooses. They both bring their juveniles in underground dens, but meerkats like teamwork. They do most stuff together, which includes taking care of and raising young ones. Civets are more introverts that don't like group gatherings. When born, they're fully furred, can move, and are basically ready for the world. Meerkats in the earliest stages of life don't have senses and need a little more time to mature. As adults, they're pretty tough though. Strong enough to survive snake's venom, have their own methods of catching scorpions, excellent vision, and are able to survive without water. They only get liquid from what they eat. Civets are nocturnal, while meerkats appreciate a good night's snooze and are active during the day. Humans and kangaroos. Well, we kind of split our ways around 150 million years ago, but we still have a common lineage, and as scientists discovered a couple of years ago, an almost identical genome. This may give us more answers about what we were like back in the day. Good, I wasn't around then. While the right hand is dominant in most humans, some of us are left-handed. It's the same for kangaroos. After they started walking on 2 legs, they got 2 free hands to perform other tasks, which is when one side naturally became dominant. As for the tail, kangaroos, like most mammals, have it for a better balance, especially when running. In our evolutionary family tree, the tail disappears. Gorillas, chimps, or other apes, including us, don't have it. 4-legged animals need a lot of energy for every step they take, while we can walk on 2 legs more easily because of gravity. Every time we take a step, it kind of pulls us forward. That way, we use 25% less energy than we would walking on all fours. So now we don't need tails to balance. Ants and bees. Wait a minute, Aunt Bee from the Andy Griffith Show? She was an insect? No. If there was a family reunion, bees wouldn't invite wasps. Scientists used to think ants were closer relatives to wasps. It turns out they're related to just some species like digger wasps and more likely to bees. Both ants and bees have specific eyes made up of other tiny eyes and antennae. They're both social, live in bigger groups, they're hardworking and strongly appreciate teamwork. They build nests and return there after eating. They're also both very socially responsible. Ants clean the environment, remove leaves, food leftovers, remains of bugs, eat harmful insects, and dig tunnels, which helps plants grow better since there's more air reaching the soil. Bees make honey and pollinate flowers, which is part of the reason why nature is so diverse. Birds and dinosaurs. Birds come from a meat-eating group where T-Rex also belongs, called theropods. Ooh, here a pod, there a pod, everywhere a pod. Fossils of ancient birds are 150 million years old. They look like small dinosaurs with feathers and also had sharp teeth. But many dinos had feathers too, and not only those that could fly. T-Rex juveniles would come out of an egg in the shape of soft, fuzzy balls, similar to birds. Feathers were useful to keep them warm and protected. Velociraptor was also covered in feathers and had jointed wrists, hinged ankles, and 3 toes. Some dinosaurs also had hollow bones. Some sat on eggs to keep them warm, while others slept with their head under the arm with folded limbs, just like birds. And the claws were similar too. Whales and cows. A long time ago, around 50 million years, you weren't around either, there was a small animal walking along the rivers of southern Asia. It had hooves and slender legs. The creature would feed on land, but whenever it sensed something dangerous coming, it would hop into the water for safety. This animal, Indohus, was the earliest relative of what we know today as whales and dolphins. Once this unusual creature got to the water, it was more clear how it evolved into a whale. Its relatives that stayed on the land hid a different direction. They're what we know today as hoofed mammals, including cows, sheep, pigs, giraffes, camels, deer, and even hippos. Horseshoe crabs and spiders. These crabs do have a shell similar to other crabs and spend most of their time crawling around the seafloor. But despite that and their name, they're more related to spiders than other crabs they probably hang out with. Horseshoe crabs have 10 eyes on their sides and back, blue blood, and can replace body parts. How handy! This crab has a segmented body with jointed legs, just like spiders do. They've been on Earth for 500 million years already, and their prehistoric ancestors could grow up to 2 feet. They had pretty long tails, which they used as a digging tool when they needed to get the food. With their tails, they can even right themselves when they fall and end up upside down. Luckily for us, they never evolved enough to end up walking on land, as their cousins do. Now, an interesting trio here: tapirs, horses, and rhinos. Although tapirs look more like pigs with trunks, they're related to neither those nor the elephants. Rhinos originally come from North America, and the early ones didn't look like the big, thick-skinned rocks we see today. They were slender mammals, the size of a pony. Some of the earliest horses also wandered those same areas and looked like small dogs with hoofed toes. The first tapirs were small too. Scientists also discovered a little hoofed mammal, here's her long name, that lived in India, which was an island back then, over 50 million years ago. Its lower jaw bones were fused, and the creature was an herbivore, just like horses and rhinos. It wasn't their ancestor, but it helped the scientists figure out how these three go in the same group. Elephant and sea cow. Sea cows used to walk on land, and the proof is that scientists found an interesting animal, this guy, from the sea cow's early family tree. It lived in prehistoric Jamaica and went extinct 40 million years ago. Today's sea cow weighs like an average piano, and you can find them in rivers and shallow coastal waters of the Caribbean, Amazon River, West Africa, and the southern U.S., where they're called manatees. The elephant weighs as much as a school bus and lives in tropical areas of Asia and Africa. They took different paths, but seeing this unusual-looking fella, you can somehow see the connection there. Now, sloths can hold their breath longer than dolphins. Yep, incredible but true. They slow their heart rate so much they can stay under the surface for up to 40 minutes. Unlike fish, dolphins and whales are aquatic mammals, which means they can't breathe underwater. When it comes to breathing, they're more similar to us than the fish. Both of them have lungs and they breathe air through something we know as a blowhole. When they're under the surface, they hold their breath until they come up for some air again. Dolphins can stay under the water for 10 minutes. A sperm whale can hold its breath for 90 minutes, while an elephant seal holds the record when it comes to aquatic mammals and can stay under the water for 2 hours without having to go up. There's a wasp so tiny, much tinier than its name, it's smaller than an amoeba, even though amoebas are made of one cell only. You can see this wasp has the same body parts as the rest of the bugs, wings, brain, eyes, and the rest, but it's really a tiny version of an insect since it's only 8/1000ths of an inch long. And the smallest adult insect we know of is a parasitic wasp with a big name, also known as the fairy fly. Their males don't have wings, they're blind, and only 5/1000ths of an inch long. Now, it's no coincidence each animal species has different colors and patterns. One of the reasons for that is to help them stand out when looking for their potential mating partners, or to send a warning to predators they're poisonous and hope they get the message right. Then there are ambush predators, such as tigers. It's very important for them to remain invisible because the difference is huge. If their prey sees them before they get there, no dinner that night. But why exactly are tigers orange? For us, orange is a color used for things that need to be ultra-visible. For example, items such as safety vests or traffic cones. To the human eye, orange will mostly stand out in the environment. So if there's a tiger coming for you, you'll spot it relatively easily. But humans have so-called trichromatic color vision. When light from your surroundings enters your eye, it hits the retina, a thin layer located in the back. To process that light, the retina uses two kinds of light receptors, rods and cones. Rods can only distinguish differences in light and darkness. They can't sense color. Our eyes will mostly rely on rods in dim light. Cones are in charge of color perception. Humans mostly have three types: cones for green, blue, and red. That's exactly why we call our vision trichromatic. Most humans see three primary colors, together with their colorful combinations. Apes and some monkeys also have such a style of vision. But most mammals that live on land, including cats, horses, deer, and dogs, have dichromatic color vision. Retinas in their eyes have cones for two colors only, green and blue. When humans get information from their green and blue cones only, they're considered colorblind since they can't, for example, tell the difference between green and red shades. This is similar with mammals that live on land. Deer are surely tigers' prey way more than humans, and deer don't see tigers as orange, but green. Green tigers would surely be more difficult to spot, which would mean more dinner for tigers. But evolution still decided to go with orange because it's simply easier to produce such a color. The only green mammal is a sloth, but its fur is not naturally green. It's because of the algae that grows in it, and they can hold their breath for 40 minutes. The water around the poles can get very cold during certain periods of the year. There's plenty of fish that live there, but when that happens, they need to swim away to survive. But there's a special group of fish native to the Southern Ocean near Antarctica. The temperatures there are from 28 to 39 degrees Fahrenheit. Technically, that's below freezing, but all those dissolved salts in the seawater don't allow it to freeze over. And these fish can survive because they have a special feature called glycoprotein. It helps them stay in their home because it acts as sort of a natural antifreeze. It's a protein that prevents all those ice crystals from forming in their blood and helps it continue to flow normally. Have you ever wondered how tiny animals like ants breathe? Try to open your mouth and throat, but at the same time, hold your chest and diaphragm still. The diaphragm is a muscular structure that separates the chest and abdominal cavities in all mammals. It expands as you breathe. If you can't do this, you can't hold your breath, because oxygen will still find its way into your lungs, at least enough of it to keep up with your body's demands. But generally, when you breathe, diaphragm is actively pumping air in and out of your body. To survive without the diaphragm doing so, you'd need more than one throat and a way smaller body. Now, ants have 9 or 10 pairs of openings along the sides of their tiny bodies. They're called spiracles, and each is connected to branching series of tubes. It's a system similar to human lungs. Their blood doesn't carry oxygen from those tubes to the rest of the body. Instead, the tubes spread this oxygen. The endings of these branches directly touch the membranes of their cells. This can only work in really small animals. When the body is bigger than 0.8 of an inch, these tubes are too long, so they can't diffuse air fast enough. There are a couple of reasons why giraffes have long necks, which, by the way, can grow up to be 6.5 feet long. From first glance, it seems evolution gave him those to reach the sweetest topmost leaves of the trees. It's exclusive access other animals can only dream of, so giraffes don't have to compete for the best bites. But over time, researchers realized it's not the only reason. They also think the neck could be a good factor when male giraffes go into combat, the same as male antelopes will use their prongs or when a stag uses its antlers. The thicker the neck, the bigger the chances to win the combat. Some insects play possum when there's a predator nearby. For instance, in one research, scientists have observed an antlion larva insect. It played possum for 61 minutes. How does this even help? Well, let's say you're in a garden where you see a bunch of identical bushes with soft fruit. You go to the first bush and start collecting and eating fruits. Yummy! It's so simple! And you're doing it relatively fast. But as you strip that bush, it's getting harder for you to find more fruits. Plus, it's kind of irritating because it takes way more time now than at the beginning. So now you need to decide whether to stay there and try to find more, or simply switch to another bush to have it all easy and fast once again. Assuming you are the predator, and predators are greedy, you'll just look for ways to eat as much fruit as possible in the shortest period of time. This means you'll go on and start collecting fruits from another bush, and the next one, and so on. Researchers use the same logic when it comes to bird and antlion larvae. It appears that insects waste the predator's time when playing possum, which has a significant impact on how things go later. That way, they encourage the predator to look for food elsewhere, because the predator doesn't have that much time to waste. So, pretending to be not alive is actually a good way to stay alive. Depending on the species, young birds spend from 10 to 30 days in their eggs. There's no air inside, but Mother Nature created a perfect mechanism for them to still be able to breathe. As a young chick is developing inside the egg, it grows some kind of hollow sac-like structure from the gut. It's like a tiny pouch that fuses with a second membrane that goes around the chick and its yolk. So one end is attached to the chick while the other is close to the inner surface of the eggshell. That way, this special membrane acts like lung tissue and connects the outside world with the chick's circulatory system. Most animals have 2 eyes, but some species need more. For example, some reptiles, amphibians, and fish have a 3rd eye on top of the head. It's not something that improves their vision that much, but it simply helps them navigate via the sunlight and regulate their body temperature. Many invertebrates have more than 2 eyes. Most spiders have 8 of them, because that way they can spot their prey easier. Now, one of the most common animal myths is that mice love cheese. It popped out a long time ago, probably as early as when people started storing food. Since mice are regular visitors to human homes, they were constantly looking for food they could eat. People used to store grains in glass jars. They also kept their meat hanging up high. But they'd lay the cheese on the shelf, which was an easy target for all the unwelcome pantry visitors like mice. So they ate it, because they couldn't reach anything better. But a mouse will definitely more likely go after chocolate or some other sweet thing than the cheese. Who can blame them? Now, flamingos don't really stand in the water on one leg so they wouldn't get cold. This is just a simple way for them to spare the effort. It's exhausting for us humans to stand on one leg, but for them, this is the most stable position possible considering their peculiar anatomy. This pose doesn't require any muscular work. Now I'm jealous. One of the most widespread and oldest myths out there is that ostriches hide their heads in the ground every time they're scared. A long time ago, researchers thought ostriches weren't very smart because they bury their heads in the ground without being aware the rest of their large bodies are still out there, where everyone can see them. In fact, ostriches do it when they want to swallow sand and pebbles to boost their digestion or just turn over the eggs they lay in their nests. And even then, they technically don't bury their head, but put it near the ground. Otherwise, with its head in the sand, the poor thing wouldn't be able to breathe. No reason to think of an ostrich as a frightened bird. Like some other animals, it will flee if it senses there's a danger coming. And in some situations, it'll fight back and defend itself. And that's one angry bird. What do you think is the largest thing a blue whale can swallow? Well, we're talking about the biggest animal ever known to have lived on our planet. It can grow up to 100 feet long with a weight of 200 tons. Its heart is as big as a car, and its tongue can weigh as much as an average elephant. It's easy to imagine a blue whale swallowing cars, people, and even small ships, perhaps. But it's all wrong. The largest thing it can actually swallow is a grapefruit. Its throat can take the size of a small salad plate. Whales feed on small fish, plankton, and marine crustaceans, so they don't need a bigger throat. But we wouldn't be able to survive the juices inside a blue whale's stomach anyway. It would finish us within 15 seconds, similar to how long we'd last in space without a spacesuit. So don't try this. Camels don't store water in their humps. We're talking about animals with extraordinary resistance to some pretty extreme conditions. They can survive even when drinking water only every 8 to 10 days, but not because they have a secret stash on their back. It's because, when they have a chance to drink, they will swallow 50 gallons of water at one sitting. They mostly use it to replenish 30% of their total body weight, an amount they can lose by dehydration. So, they lose a lot of water but quickly regain it. Their humps are where they deposit fat, but it's not for producing water. The oxygen camels would need to inhale would cause them to lose too much water because it would evaporate through their lungs. That's why they use fat as a nutritional source for energy. This helps them survive in arid regions and times of scarcity. Now, it's a myth that anteaters vacuum ants using their noses. They don't go around looking for ants and hoovering them through their long snouts. Anteaters have very long tongues. Giant anteaters have tongues that go up to 2 feet long. It's the shape of a strand of spaghetti and covered in spiny hooks and sticky saliva that traps ants, up to 160 times in a minute, which means they eat up to 20,000 insects in a single day. That's a lot of bugs. They open anthills using their claws and then do the rest of the work with the tongue. They don't have teeth, so they only swallow all the insects they catch. Movies might have given you a false sense of security when it comes to dinos. Nope, standing very, very still couldn't save you from a raging T-Rex coming after you. It's a myth. The Dino King had bad vision. These beasts may have seen better than modern-day raptors. They had excellent depth perception, something present in today's animals such as eagles and hawks. Even if, by some miracle, the Dino King can't see you or thinks you're just a small tree or some other object because you're standing so still, they had a pretty good sense of smell. So, the better option would be to run because the T-Rex is not as fast as scientists used to think, up to 33 miles per hour. Considering their anatomy, they could move at a speed of 12 miles per hour. Anything faster than that would have caused serious bone damage. But this didn't stop them from ruling the animal world because there were plenty of dinosaurs way slower than them, so they didn't have to worry about food. Another misconception states that owls can spin their heads, neither more nor less than 360 degrees. Their head spinning does have its limit, 270 degrees in one direction. Since they can turn 270 degrees to the left and right, owls have a 540-degree range of motion. Don't worry, if you touch a butterfly's wings, the animal won't lose its ability to fly. It will survive, despite the common myth that says the opposite. Butterfly wings have scales. When you touch them, some scales might shed off, but it's not a bad thing, because they shed off naturally too. Because of sheddable scales, they can escape more easily if they get stuck and trapped in spider webs. Now, the next myth has inspired many movies, books, and TV series scenarios, but no, wolves don't howl at the moon. They typically howl at night, true, but because that's the period of time when they're most active. They'll also look up while howling since this helps the sound travel. That way, other wolves will hear them from around 6 to 7 miles away. And that's why they howl in the first place, to communicate with each other. They make specific sounds for a certain situation. For example, to help a wolf that lost its pack find its way home. The moon just happened to accidentally be there while wolves were communicating. Okay, giraffes only need 30 minutes of sleep a day. That's another myth. They sleep about 4.5 hours daily. It's not that unusual for animal species that are most active during daylight. Studies also show giraffes usually lay down to sleep for less than 11 minutes at a time. Many people believe moles are blind. These small burrowing mammals actually can see. It's just their vision is really poor and only adapted to recognize light. They're also colorblind. When they're searching for food and navigating the dark underground, these creatures mostly rely on their touch and sense of smell. Now, their sense of touch is sharp, which is why moles can feel nearby vibrations of activity. This helps them avoid danger or find their next meal more easily, like millipedes, worms, centipedes, and other invertebrates. Yum! They're really fast at digging and can dig a couple of inches per minute. In the winter, animals hibernate not because it's too cold for them to be outside, but because there isn't enough food during that period. When an animal is in hibernation, its heart rate, body temperature, breathing, and other metabolic activities slow down significantly. That's how they conserve energy. Chipmunks, bats, turtles, snakes, they all hibernate during the winter, which saves them energy for other seasons when they get more active and are capable of getting more food. I'd say bears too, but they're not the true hibernators. If you try waking one up during the winter when you believe the animal is sleeping, you might end up having a bad time. Now, they do slow down, which means they sleep for extended periods of time. They're still not asleep for the entire winter season, and you can easily wake them during their sleep, so let's not. Now, don't believe myths. Earwigs won't lay eggs in your ears. Yup, despite their name, they're not that interested in your ears. Well, at least there's no evidence they'd want to go there. They prefer to spend their time in dark, moist places, such as under tree bark or in soil. So, your ears are off the hook. That's it for today. So hey, if you pacified your curiosity, then give the video a like and share it with your friends. Or if you want more, just click on these videos and stay on